Hi guys, this is Robin with Weight Loss Apocalypse. Here's another little clip from an amazing session. In fact, I actually took notes from this session, and I had one section I wanted to share, and then I was like, oh my god, I want to share this section. And then it's full. It's chocked full of awesome discussion. So in the end, I decided to give you this 10-minute clip about a discussion about fear and how fear is such a huge aspect to eating disorders, emotional eating, and the whole concept of body image. So in this, we're talking about specifically what being afraid of fear does and how it's magnified. And I think with everybody I work with, there is fear of being afraid, which again exponentially magnifies your response to avoid it, deny it, push it away, run away from it, hide from it, fight it, and the extreme response when you look at your issues with food or your issues with trying to stay thin or your issues micromanaging if it's healthy or not. If you look at how the extreme that you're working and functioning, you can see that that's pretty much how extreme your fear is that you're trying to repress in fear of it. So yeah, that's something I remember very clearly with my recovery, is that everything I was doing was to remove this radical sense of fear that was so severe, it felt like I was going to be murdered. And I didn't really understand it until I was processing my suicide and had to look at why I was willing to die. So I think for a lot of people who struggle or suffer with eating disorders are so stuck in their fear of fear that they don't really understand the whole picture. Because to understand it, you'd have to sit in your fear. And how can you do that when you're terrified of that fear? So anyways, if you want to watch this whole session, you're going to have to go become a supporter of the work and my writing through the Weight Loss Apocalypse Patreon account. There's a link below to follow that. If you would like my help, if you are deep in your suffering and are ready to recover, I can help. So the link to sign up for a consultation, 90-minute consult, is below as well on my website. And enjoy. Well, you have to face, okay, so this is really where the bottom is. You have to face your fears. You have to open your eyes to them. You have to look at them and try to understand them. And so the only way to do that is to be present with those fears.
Yeah.
So be present with fear. Can you handle fear? What is fear, right? So let's start with just, are you afraid of fear?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I know, right? That's where it magnifies. Yeah. So your response to fear is probably 5 times as high as it should be. And so no wonder you don't want to look at what that fear is, because you're afraid of it. And so afraid of fear is like magnifying it exponentially, right? It's not like double. It's exponential magnification of what fear feels like. So let's look at what fear feels like. If you were to talk about, it's really just a physical sense.
Yeah, it's like my heart pounding. I can't breathe. My
your
brain
head
just kind of washes out. I can't.
Yeah, you might get a headache.
Think. Yeah.
Can't breathe. You might feel like your chest is heavy. Your skin, shaky is for sure. So that physicality, if you were to rate it on 1 to 10, compare it to, let's just say, labor and delivery. Which one's worse?
Oh yeah. So that would probably be like a 4.
Yeah, it's nothing. So when you really look at the physicality of fear, it's actually very tolerable. It's not a big deal. It's what, nausea is worse. So you're in nausea, or you're getting close to the nausea. If you get it, way worse. I mean, just go into having the flu, like the stomach flu. It is so goddamn miserable. You're praying to God to get rid of it. You know, it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
You're just like, I just want to puke and get it over with. It's the worst. Fear is so much more tolerable to just handle. People go to movies to have that sensation. I mean, people.
Yeah. Wow. That's true.
Yeah. Nausea. Do you think people like nausea?
No.
Let's go and take this nausea pill to make us vomit.
Oh, wow.
So when you really look at what fear is it worthy of being afraid of?
No. Nope.
So that's the first step, don't you think?
Yeah.
For you is let's just be open to feeling what fear is. The thing about fear is what it tells you, the message of it is to do something. Do something.
Yeah.
Do something.
Yep. Try to fix it.
Move it, hide it, run from it, fight it. You know, there is a message of do something. It creates a sense of impulse, and it's almost like it takes time. Your sense of time becomes very pressurized because it's the sense of doing something comes with now. Can you see how beneficial that would be to the survival of the species?
Oh, yeah.
Any species.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
should we judge that or be afraid of that impulse of now? No. So it works. It's such a good thing if you were standing in front of a gorilla.
Right.
Now, go. You know, or freeze now. Those are so beneficial, and we can see that across the entire spectrum of animals around the planet. Changing the skin color, adapting to their environments, inflating their bodies when they become aggressive or when they're in the fight position of survival, shrinking their body when they're in the hiding position, right? We are so similar. We have similar reactions. So when you feel fear and you're afraid of it, you could probably look at your behavior and go, oh, I'm shrinking. I'm not necessarily aggressive so much as I shrink. Or you go back and forth. You could say you shrink. You are aggressive when it comes to fighting for food. You shrink when it comes to going out in public.
Yeah.
So you can look at, we talked about those Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how he puts a hierarchy in terms of how our brain prioritizes survival needs. No wonder you're fighting for food. That's the most dominant primary survival need to survive. So you're fighting for that food. But when it comes to that third hierarchy of need, which is the desire to feel lovable and to feel comfortable with people and to feel confident and competent and wanted and, you know, accepted into a tribe, why you would shrink. Because you're using thin supremacy as the most important defining definition of your value socially. Right? Yeah. So can you see why you shrink and hide? Because you're embarrassed and feel hopelessly overweight, but at the same time, because to be thinner and to go out and to feel confident and competent and to feel connected with people, your food has to be rationed into famine.
Wow.
So your impulse is to fight for food because your need to be thin is so pressurized for you to be accepted and loved in your tribe. Only because you personally have internalized and believe that thinner people are superior people.
Oh, yeah.
So this is where you have a choice, because that's your choice to believe that.
Yeah.
You believe it. And so the hardest part of this is to really look at the reality. First of all, because we could call you a thin supremacist, because you believe it, and you will be until you basically exorcist it, you get it out of your belief systems to where you don't believe it anymore. You are doomed to feel like shit about yourself. You'll never recover from how bad you feel about yourself as a human being.
I have a hard time. Like, I feel like I don't believe it. Like, I know it's all bullshit now, you know, but for some reason I just feel like there's a wall in there, you know?
Yeah, well, this might be, Jennifer, this might be because you don't believe it for other people. You might be attaching to, I don't believe it. Well, you don't believe it for other people. You're giving everybody else the grace that they can be that size, and they should still love themselves. They're good, you know, you might believe that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to you need to meet a higher standard.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's the narcissism.
Like, oh my gosh.
Don't judge it.
Yeah.
Because that's your personal survival. They're surviving. They can survive with less. But I have to survive with more because I'm kind of higher in terms of my position. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So you need to. That's why you have more shame. Your level of shame with your body is exponentially higher than a lot of people, which is why you have such impulsive issues with dieting and food. People who don't have this type of superiority, inferiority issues wouldn't feel and didn't feel bad about their weight when they were at a weight you thought was horrible. Because you could go back in your history and say, well, I wasn't always this size, and even if I was overweight, I would do anything for that body. Well, at that time, you were disgusted with yourself and just as ashamed with that body as you are now.
Yeah.
The person that had that same body who didn't feel as ashamed never ended up having these issues because they didn't take the thin supremacy as serious. They didn't feel that they were so superior they had to meet these crazy ass standards.
Wow.
Right? They probably accepted mediocre and thought, whatever it is true. I'm not going to pretend to be better than this for whatever reason. Whatever reason. So you could look at, well, if I didn't feel that I had to meet such superior standards, I wouldn't carry this intense shame.
Wow.
Do you see that?
Yeah. Yep.
So the intense shame is what you're trying to get rid of. That's what creates, if we really look at your fear, so if we were to look at what you're afraid of, it's being ashamed and the embarrassment of failure to yourself. The feelings of, I have failed. I'm a failure. So if you look at the fear, the message you have in that fear is, I'm embarrassed and I don't want to be exposed because it'll be embarrassing. I'm afraid to feel embarrassed. I'm afraid to be seen as a failure. So people will think that I am inferior. I don't want people to think I'm inferior. Plus, if I am inferior, I will be embarrassed because being inferior is like pathetic, you know. So there's narcissism in that.
Yeah.
If you look at that, that's what you're afraid of. When people say, but I'm afraid of my health, I kind of laugh. No.
No. If it was the health, it wouldn't be so hard.
No, it would be so easy.
If I was dying and I needed to eat only salad, then I would eat only salad so I won't die.
Pretty much. But this is, you know, the idea of health is to try to promote what you're doing. It's kind of like, I want this to look good.
Yeah.
I'm going to convince myself, and I want to convince others that what I'm doing, what I need to protect me from that emotional fear of being a loser and a failure and the narcissism, I don't want it to be exposed. So I'm going to try to look good by saying I should do this for my health.
Yeah.
Did that hurt? Did it sting? Is there any cognitive dissonance with that? I'm laughing only because I know anybody watching this video is going, oh my God, that hurt what she just said because it was true. You got to tell yourself the truth if you want to recover.
Yeah.
And it hurts. Because it's covering up. It's like protecting what you're doing. And what you're doing is what you're trying to recover from. And how are you going to recover if you're not willing to expose what you're doing and get rid of what you're doing? What I'm doing is going to help me be thin.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Did I just describe the insanity for you?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what even gone through hearing this week from the last time we talked.
The clarity. Again, this is why I think going back into hell is really important for people who struggle to tell themselves the truth. It is like, oh shit, I gotta tell myself the truth. I thought I could do this without having to tell the truth. I thought I could do it, kind of. I thought I could do it my way. Do you really want to do it your way?
No.
Do you see that your way sucks?
Yes.
Okay. That's important too. So, right. But everybody holds on to my way. Robin is going to help me, but you know what? I'm going to do it my way. Do it my way. I don't want to have to, because I have a reason, you know, because I have a story, and she doesn't get it.
Yeah, I started going back into all the things that happened to me when I was younger.
Right? I know. Poor me. You really went in a circle, didn't you?
Oh, hell. Yeah.
Do you see it as a circle? It's a loop.
Yeah. I felt like I was right back to like the day before I called you.
And you go to the far left and you go to the far right and you come back to the center and you go to the far left and you go to the far right, and what I'm telling you to do is just stop.
Yeah.
But if you just stop, crap, you're going to be, it goes back into the thin supremacy position, which is you're going to be fat and ugly and a loser and no one's going to like you, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know? No one's going to know the real thin you.
Yeah.